Well, I just wanted to, first of all, my name is Travis. I'm at the MIRE Conference. I want to thank you all for coming out tonight. Just tell you a little bit about my vision for the MIRE Conference is I wanted to have an event for real estate professionals, whether they're a mega team or a brand new agent. Whether they're in the business 25 years or they've been in the business 2 years, whether they're doing $25 million a year or they've just done their first transaction. I wanted to have an event where folks could come and learn, because here's what I believe. For the last 20 years, I've been on a journey to grow myself because I believe in one principle. That principle is the law of the lid. John Maxwell talks about the law of the lid. You cannot outgrow yourself. You have to invest in yourself. You have to grow yourself. And so I shared this vision with a few of the sponsors here today, with USA Mortgage, Titan, and HSA Warranty. And I said, hey, I want to bring a premier speaker right here to the Ozarks, Springfield, Missouri. I want it to be total. That way we can be totally free. We can feed them lunch and give them something to drink, and they can come here and just learn. And they can just be fed, and we can just give to them. We can just add value to their life. And they were on board. So that's where this vision came from. So I want to start off by make sure you thank these sponsors, Titan, HSA, and USA Mortgage. Can we give them a big hand? To give them a few moments to just introduce themselves real quick here. Sam is with Titan, and she's got her team here. And so, Sam, again, thank you. Here, tell us a little bit about Titan.
Thank you. I'm Sam. Like I said, I'm the general manager of Titan Title. Thank you for having us here. I would like to introduce my crew members here. We have Jamie, Melinda, Nikki, and Holly. These beautiful women help make Titan Title. You call in, you talk to one of them. They're also the ones that you're going to see face to face. Friendliness is our key thing. We want to make sure that we're building relationships. It's in our tagline of building those relationships with you. For our community, for our people that we work with, I have a lot of deep relationship people that I have grown to love and have know their families with them. It's my pleasure to be here and helping to introduce, Mr. Hull and his leadership roles. His taglines in there are motivate, inspire, relationship, and execution. This is a great way to start with great people here. We're one small office. A lot of title companies have several offices. We're one because we want to focus on building relationships with you all. I'm sorry, I'm not a speaker, so. Knowledge is power. We believe that having the knowledge to know what we do in the industry also helps you make you who you are. When you go out and talk to people, when you're talking to your customers, knowing what you're telling them, making them feel comfortable with who you're using. When you're using people like Titan Title, we want to be able to help answer those questions for you in order to help them be more comfortable. Lastly, with the help of HSA, USA Mortgage, and Titan Title, we are all helping bring families home. Thank you.
Our next sponsor here I want to introduce you to is the always sharp dressed, sharp looking Steve Cottrell. Steve, welcome. Thank you very much. Tell us about your people.
Thank you. I'm extremely nervous. So the best I can. On behalf of USA Mortgage, I'd like to welcome you guys to a great event. So proud and honored to be able to help bring this event to Springfield. I know we work in a very competitive industry, so anytime we can collaborate, get together, come together and help promote learning, it's a great thing. So I think that the real estate industry is obviously very important to the community. We do a lot for the community, so there's a lot of value in all of us growing individually. USA Mortgage, there's a pamphlet, there's some information. We are the #1 mortgage bank in Missouri for the last 3 years. Thank you. I attribute that to 3 things: integrity, competency, but most of all, I think it's apathy and a genuine care for the people that you work for, your clients, and your referral partners, and the community in general. It's easy. I have the best job in the world. I get to lead 23 leaders So really, I'm just a support person because they've taught me more than I could ever teach them. I have some great people. I would like to recognize the people from USA Mortgage that came to support today. So if you guys would stand up, please. I hope you guys enjoy the evening, come away with some valuable information, and I'm sure that I will see you all soon. Have a good night.
Thanks, Steve, very much. George, come on up. George is with, that was nice right there, right next to her home. George is with HSA Home Warranty, and so George, just tell us a little bit about your business.
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you for being here, and I am standing up, so.
From today.
So, when Travis said I could speak, and he said I had 45 minutes, I was pretty excited because I thought, we're going to learn a lot about warranty tonight. I know that's exciting, so, but I think it was really just 4 to 5. So, it's exciting to be here. I'm honored to be in a room with such a great group of people. And I can tell you that I'm humbled to get to do business with you guys on a regular basis. I get asked by the leadership in our organization all the time, what is it that you do that makes you successful and keep producing month after month? And I tell them every time, it's the people that I get to work with. Because you guys are a great group of people, at least the ones we work with, which is most people in the room. And if I don't do business with you, please, let's do business. The one thing that I would leave with you guys today is, if you're not using home warranty as part of your real estate transactions, you should be. And I think if you ask your brokers from a risk mitigation standpoint, they would say, yes, you need to include it.
Yes, you need to include it.
Thank you. I'll pay you later. So the one thing I will challenge you with before I leave here is that if you have questions about home warranty, if you're a little uncomfortable with it because of maybe bad experiences, or don't feel like you're knowledgeable enough, or want some help with techniques on how to present a warranty and talk about it, I challenge you to reach out to me for coffee or lunch. I love coffee and I love lunch because when we go, I get to eat and the company pays for it. So that's my challenge and charge to you, and thank you for letting me be here.
If all of you've noticed, there's a lot of different people from a lot of different brokerages here, and that's by design. And if you'll also notice that there's no brokerage sign hanging here, that's by design. My vision is that we add value to people, and there's a whole lot of business out here. I want to help each and every one of you get all that you can. I quite frankly don't care what brokerage you work for. If you're in this industry, you make tremendous sacrifices for your family and for yourself. You work hard every day, day in and day out. And I want to honor that, and that's the vision of this conference. We want to motivate you, we want to inspire you, help you build relationships, we want to help you execute in excellence. It's really what we're all about. And so when I was thinking of a speaker that I could bring into this conference for you, there's one name shot to the top to hit all that criteria, and that was Dr. John Hull. Dr. John Hull is, he needs no introduction, but I'll give him one real quick. I met Dr. John Hull in 2003 because I made a decision to go invest in myself, and I went to a conference that, quite frankly, was crazy for me to go to at the time. The amount of money I invested to be there was a little stupid, but I went, and it was the best decision I ever made because I met this man, and he mentored me for the last, 10 plus years since then. So he was the newly anointed CEO of John Maxwell's nonprofit organization. John had that organization for a while, and it kind of didn't have a real vision, and when Dr. Hull came on, he gave a clear vision. We're going to teach leaders globally. And I won't steal his thunder, but I'll just let you know that he and his team assembled the greatest group of train-the-trainers that's ever been out in the world, in the history probably. They trained over 4 million people globally, leadership. And that's just inspirational. So John Maxwell was the face of that organization. John Hull's the man that ran the organization and made it happen. So he's the CEO of that. From there, he went on to be the CEO of Yes TV, on Huntley Street, and Crossroads Ministries. And this guy's led global organizations. He's worked globally. He's traveled all over the world. And when you talk about a down-to-earth, bottom line, humble, genuine human being, I don't know if there's a better one. So Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, please give you a big Springfield welcome, Dr. John Hayes.
Can you hear me? Is that coming through? Am I not on? Let's see. Okay, I'm on? Okay, is it here? So far, we're off to a smashing start. All right, how we doing? Okay, just crank me up a little bit more. Hi, everybody, it's good to see you. My name is John Hull, and I am thrilled to be in Springfield. Would you give a great hand of appreciation to our organizer and our convener, Travis, for the work that he does. I have known Travis now for about 13, 14 years, and we've been involved in a relationship that's primarily been by phone or by email for over a decade. And we have seen each other maybe 6 times in that period of time, and I was at different places around the world. He had different jobs, different places, but somehow we made it work. And I'm just grateful for the leader that he has become, and I'm so happy that his DNA is joined with your DNA here, and I'm thankful too for his vision and for our sponsors tonight, your vision to see this real estate community, this brokerage community, these different entities, communities coming together in partnership for personal growth and development. When Travis called me a couple of months ago, he said, and asked me about this, he said, John, you know, Springfield, Missouri, he said, you know, it's a conservative place, it's a marvelous place, people love the country, they love the nation, they love America, they believe in the Constitution, they believe in free speech. And then he said, John, do you still believe in good old American free speech? I said, yes, Travis, I do. He said, well, could you come to Springfield and make one? So that's why I'm here. I feel a little shaky, but we're going to be okay. Travis truly is one of the finest men I've ever had an opportunity to know. In fact, at lunch today, he looked at me and he said, John, you know, I'm one of the finest men you've ever had the opportunity. In the room tonight, you may not know him, but he is a resident of this city, but he is a former colleague of mine going back 17 years ago. His name is Kevin Donaldson. Kevin, would you please stand and let everyone know who you are? Welcome, Kevin, tonight. Kevin Donaldson is a remarkable leader and helped design what we called in our Maxwell years together the Million Leader Mandate. And it was a wonderful thing. It has now been in every country of the world as part of a leadership process. And history will show that it was Kevin who was the strategic planner who put that all together. Now he has then lived in India. He and I have had opportunities to travel together to the African continent and taught leaders. We've been together in Europe and taught leaders. We've been together in Asia and taught leaders. And we've been together in Latin America and taught leaders. And Kevin is very, very special. And I want him to be recognized tonight because he has, as a local person here, all the capacities to do what I'm doing here tonight. He has taught leadership everywhere around the world. And when I think about somebody like Kevin being in an audience like this tonight, and I'm with the assignment that Travis has given to teach leadership, I feel a little bit like the guy who was a survivor of the historic Johnstown flood back in the late 1800s in Pennsylvania. It was one of the worst disasters that had ever occurred in America up until that time. Today, they say 2,500 people died, and if you were to put a 2017 cost to what it cost then compared with a rate of inflation and adjustment in today's dollars, the damage done at the Johnstown flood was about $500 million in today's economy. There was a man who survived that flood, and he was a good storyteller, and he found an identity as being a guy who could stand up in front of audiences like you, and he could tell the story of how he survived the Johnstown flood. And so he eventually got on the mashed potato circuit. He'd go to churches, he'd go to Civitan clubs and Kiwanis and Lions clubs, and he spoke all across the country, all of his life being defined as the guy who survived the Johnstown flood. And he could tell a story that would make the crowd move. One day, as all of us will have happen to us, this man dies, and he goes to heaven. And the story is told that his first day in heaven, there is an orientation for everybody who gets to heaven that day. And everyone needs to stand up and tell something about their life on earth as they transition into heaven. And so you know this guy thinks, I'm going to talk to these people about being a survivor of the historic, notorious Johnstown flood. He shares that with some people around his table. And then one of the disciples leans over to him and he says, I just want to remind you, you need to know, Noah is in the audience. That's how I feel with Kevin. I'm a little intimidated tonight. It's so good to be here. I am so happy to be with Travis and Kevin and some other fine, good people. And I began to think about weeks ago what I should share and where I should go. I got my start in radio and television years ago. And I love radio stories and television stories. And one of my favorites, and this will, I hope, transition to our content this evening. One of my favorite stories was the story of a disc jockey, an announcer who was trying to give away some money live over the air. This was done a lot in the older days of radio, not so much today. And so he phoned a number at random, and the audience could hear through the mic, through the speaker, the dialing of the phone, and you could hear the phone ringing. And on the other side of the line, on the other end of the line, there was a voice of a little boy who answered the phone, and he whispered, hello. And the announcer said, hello, young man. This is so-and-so and so-and-so from station whatever. We're trying to give away some money live over the air. May I speak to your mother, please? And the little boy whispered and said, she's busy. Well, is there some other adult we could talk to? We're live on the air trying to give away some money. We need to talk to an adult. Is there another adult there? Is your father there? He said, yes. Could I speak to your father, please? He said, he's busy. Is there some other adult that I can talk to that's in the house? There's a policeman. Could I speak to him, please? He's busy. Is there some other person I could speak to in the house, an adult? He says, there's a fireman. Could I speak to him? He's busy. Finally, in frustration, the disc jockey says, what are these people so busy doing? The little boy whispered and said, looking for me. When you come to events like this and someone has been brought in as a speaker, in all likelihood, you're looking for me to provide you with some answers, some tips, some helps, some insights. And there are things that there are experts, there are items that could be discussed tonight that will help you in your industry. But tonight, I'm really not here to talk about how to sell, how to close. I'm not here to talk about projections when it comes to interest rates and refinancing. I'm not here to talk about how to build a list of prospects or how to build a pipeline of business. That's not why I've come. I've not come tonight, if you will, with some answers. But I tell you what I have come with. I've come tonight with a list of questions. Some questions that I think that can help you, I know can help you as they have helped me develop in my leadership capacity. Years ago, Kevin Donaldson and my former boss, John Maxwell, he and his writing team put together a leadership lesson called Questions I Ask Myself as a Leader. And there were about 10 or 12 of those questions. And over time, what I did is I began to personalize it in my own life, and I kind of just brought it down to 6. And so what I'm sharing with you tonight is what I'm living in my life as a leader, as someone who develops teams, as someone who tries to empower, as someone who has to make budgets and payroll, as someone who lives in a real world like you live in a real world and a real economy tonight. And my hope is that I can pass along to you some questions that I'm asking that I hope that you will begin to ask about your life and about your leadership, so that you can leave here and go into the future as we get ready for a final quarter of this year, moving into a new quarter of next year, with some handles in your life and in your leadership and in your business that can help you become the broker, the salesperson, the manager, the accountant, the tax preparer that you need to be. So what do you say, let's look at what we call tonight Questions I Ask Myself as a Leader. I just want to walk through these things with you, and I hope that you can follow along and take a few notes there on a very simple sheet I provided for you. If you get bored, feel free to make your grocery list of things you want to pick up on the way home. I get that, I understand that. But what do you say, let's go through this and have a learning time together. Let's talk a little bit first about questions. Great questions can produce great answers. Let's talk about for a moment the kinds of questions that we can ask. Let's talk about quality questions. You may want to make a note of that. Quality questions. Quality questions. Quality questions can produce a better quality of life. Let me share what I mean by that. When you ask, what is my purpose in life? That's a quality question. And if you can discover that, that's a quality answer. When you ask a quality question like, what's this going to cost me? What kind of sacrifice do I need to make? That's a quality question. And the answer to that quality question will be a quality answer, and it will add value to your life. If you ask yourself the question, where am I going with my career? What do I need to do next? That's a quality question. The answer will be a quality answer that can provide value and add value to your life and to your career right here in this metropolitan Springfield area where you live and where you work. How can I build a legacy for my kids? How can I leave a legacy for my grandkids long after I'm gone? That's a quality question. Quality questions produce quality answers, and quality answers can add value to your life. Those are quality questions. Then there are focused questions. Focused questions. And what focused questions do is focused questions stimulate creative thinking. Focused questions, and this is, I think, is a very beautiful thing. Focused questions that you ask yourself in your life, in your leadership, in your business. Focused questions bring clarity in answers. They bring answers with clarification, clarity. You know when you go to the optometrist or the optician and they swing that big arm with the lenses and you put it there and it's on top of your nose now, and you wonder, you know you look like a huge bug, right? And they put this over your nose and it's over your eyes, and we've all been there and we've all done this with an eye examination. You'll get, which is clearer? 1 or 2? 2 or 3? 3 or 4? Which is clearer, the green or the red? Now, those questions, it may sound simple, but those questions that doctor asks you are literally focus-based questions. And those answers to those questions provide your eyes with clarity, and you're able to go forward, get a prescription, pay for the glasses, and move on with a higher quality of life. Here's what I'm saying about questions. When a question is precise, the better the question. When a question is specific, the better the question. When a question is focused, it leads to focused answers. So hang in there with me. We haven't got into the 6 questions yet. I want to set the stage. There are in life, in real estate, in business, in family, in whatever work or arena of life you're in, there are questions, quality questions, focused questions, and then we get down to this next level of questions. I call this honest questions. Honest questions. And that's what these 6 questions are this evening. Honest questions lead to personal growth and development. And we will just, in a loving, I hope gracious, positive way tonight, just keep driving that down into your business heart, driving it down into your real estate soil. That you would grow as a leader. Honest questions lead to personal growth, and those are the kind of questions that you have in front of you tonight. And I want you to examine yourself and how you're doing with this. Don't just write it down. Don't just try to fill out a little blank in the paper to get it done. I'd like to encourage you about where you are. As we launch into the 6 questions, I want you to be familiar with the name Dr. Evan O'Neill Kane. Dr. Kane was a New York City physician in the late 1800s and early 1900s, and he was a surgeon. And at that time in medicine, in the United States or anywhere in the world, if you wanted to have someone perform surgery on you so that you could get better, the technique was to use a general anesthetic. You would have to put the whole body out. And so ether or whatever kind of drowsy drug they would give you, they would, for the smallest of procedures, if there would be pain, they would just put you out. Now, that sounds kind of good, but in that day, there were high risk with that. In fact, there was a higher risk of losing someone than if they had another option. So Dr. Kane had this idea that if you could come up with a local anesthetic, you could put it, if you will, at the place where the surgery was needed. The patient could have deadened nerves around that place where the surgery could take place. The patient could stay awake. And what seems very common to us today of a localized anesthetic was revolutionary around the turn of the 19th into the 20th century. But Dr. Kane believed in this concept of medicine. And so one day, in that New York City hospital where he worked, he performed an appendectomy using a local anesthetic, and it was successful. But what I think all of us would find remarkable about the story is that he performed the appendectomy on himself. He performed surgery on himself. So here's what I want to say to you. Again, I'm a stranger to you, and I know I look strange. But here, because I've come to just say I want to help, and I want this to really work for you. Look at these questions tonight, if you will, as medical tools of leadership. To perform surgery on yourself. Not to condemn you or to fill you up with guilt or to overwhelm you with something that you might think, oh, I'm not getting that done, I can never get that done. No. I want you to look at the questions as, if you will, surgical scalpels for you to be able to do exploratory surgery in your leadership with your team. How you're doing relating to your customers. How you're doing relating to the marketplace. So here are the questions. The first question, I'll try to move through them quickly, and I want to make sure that I honor your time because I know you've got a full work day tomorrow. Let's ask the first question, some honest questions. First of all, the first question is, am I investing in myself as a leader? Am I investing in myself as a leader? And you may want to just write in the margin there or underneath this, this is a personal growth question. This is a personal growth question. And I don't want you to think that this is a selfish question. I don't want you to think that this is a self-serving question, that this is a narcissistic question, that this is an egocentric question. This is an important question. It is not selfish. Because here's the reality of the day. We cannot give what we do not have. We cannot give to our team members what we do not have within us. Am I investing in myself? And if we need to develop our leadership to others, we have to lead ourselves, making investment in personal growth. Here's a reality of the day. The first person that you and I have to be willing to lead is ourselves. Here's also another reality. The toughest person, the hardest person. This is where if we're in church we say amen, right? I mean, this is like, yeah. The hardest person that we have to lead is ourselves. Good leaders are good learners. Good leaders are good readers. Good leaders are good listeners. Good leaders are good students. Here's a question, under the question of number one. The subset question would be this to all of you. I'm not trying to throw anybody a curveball or make you go. I hope maybe some light bulbs will go off and you'll be motivated, not feel manipulated. Do you have a personal growth plan in your life? Do you have a personal growth plan in your life? Are you providing for yourself on a daily basis materials, relationships, resources that put you in a very positive, pro-growth environment? It's very important that you and I, before we go out and we put the sign in the ground for sale with our picture, with our phone number, with our website, with what's on our website, with on our social medias, we're trying to develop ourselves. As we are putting out that image to people, before that image ever goes out there to face the day, you need to be growing and developing yourself in your leadership. You have a magnificent journalism school at the University of Missouri. It's famous. And I had an opportunity to go to another strong journalism school at the University of Georgia. And when I was a junior in college as a journalism student, the famed CBS journalist, Charles Kuralt, came and spoke to one of our journalistic societies. It was a dinner. It was kind of in a room like this. And at the end of his speech, this would be 1979, he was asked, what would you say to us as students as we want to try to grow in our journalistic ability, in our leadership ability? And this is what he said, and I never forgot. He said, read great writers and listen to great talkers. Read great writers and listen to great talkers. Now you, as people that are in the sales business, you that are in the communication business, would do well to learn, to watch, to read from the best communicators there are, period. And I say this respectfully. Forget about real estate. Forget about sales techniques. What you want to do is you want to listen to great talkers and read great writers. Every year, I sit down, and I used to not do this, but I do it now. I sit down and I begin to map out what my 12 months will look like in my leadership growth for me. It isn't about building leadership lessons. It isn't about preparing talks. It's not about trying to run a meeting. I start figuring out what books I want to read, what podcast I want to follow, and then I will find usually, and I don't let politics dictate me here, I let communications dictate to me. I listen to the best talk radio personalities out there. Politics, not my concern, although it is an important part of our lives. But I'm a communicator. And when you listen to someone who is on radio, they have the ability to create images, cast vision, create controversy. They can do all kinds of things. And there's something very powerful, and this is your business. This is your industry. It is the ability to put one good word next to another. And you do it with confidence, you do it with security, and you do it with humility, and you're smart about it. You read the great writers. And then when you look at television, you find people who know how to look in that camera and communicate a story, move with an emotion. When you go and you watch a movie or you go to a play, watch the actor and how they position themselves and stage themselves and how they do this, the inflection of voices, the ups, the downs. Watch those things because you are in this incredible people business. And people like me come to people like you with the biggest asset, hard asset we probably have. And that's the sale of a house, or the purchase of a house, or trying to find a piece of commercial property, or to get rid of a piece of commercial property. And we're counting on you. And you need to be every day developing your leadership skills. Every day growing, reading, listening. And you say, well, I'm not a very good reader. I don't enjoy reading. That's okay. We live in a world today where you can download books. Audio books, right? That's a fabulous thing. And in my car now, when I'm coming in the morning, I have about a 30-minute commute to my job, both ways. And when I get in my car now, I don't listen so much to news unless there's a big story I'm trying to follow. But and even I have salary and I don't follow a particular music. So what I do is I get my phone and I find some podcasts and subjects that I know I need help in. And I listen and I learn. Am I investing in myself? That's a big question. Now, I believe in this so much of developing a personal growth plan that a few years ago when Kevin and I were traveling globally, Kevin and I together, I think, Kevin and I have been collectively in probably 140 countries. We traveled a lot. Big, thick passports, lots of visas. Lived in airports. And our wives were thrilled when we left. We traveled a lot. And every year, being out of Atlanta, I fly Delta a lot. And so I would find myself where I was at a point that I needed to get a couple of connection flights at the end of the calendar year so I could qualify to keep my status, which is very important to frequent flyers. Some of you may be or have been in that position. And so in that particular situation, what I did is I found myself in December with about 2 weeks left in the year that I needed a couple of connections. And so what I did was that I booked a flight to Los Angeles and booked another flight, same day, 4 hours later, back from Atlanta to Atlanta. And I took on the plane with me all the stuff that I've been collecting, files and things and all the stuff. And what I did, 4 hours to LA, 3-4 hours sitting in a terminal, then flying 3-4 hours. I spent the whole time that day mapping my personal growth plan for that year. Please invest in yourself. You cannot give to your team what you do not have. Second question. Second question is, am I genuinely interested in people? Am I genuinely interested in people? How many of you have at least one friend? Would you raise your hand? Those of you that have no friends, raise your hand. I understand. I don't know why you would want to be in a sales kind of job if you didn't like people. I remember years ago in graduate school, I was with a guy who was preparing to go into ministry to be a pastor. And I said to him, I said, what do you dread most? He said, I just hate people. I was like, woo-hoo. That was really strange. There is something very important in a leader's life, understanding the value of people and not only investing in yourself, but turning around and investing in others. And this is, if you will, you could put it in a little category, a margin there under the question. This is a relationship question. And we've all heard the saying, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. It's so true. Once you develop your own skills, which we spent time with the first question, you need to invest in others, into the team. I was so encouraged to see these teams tonight. And I met people, oh, you're on the same team, that's cool. I'm glad you're here. Every leader of those teams needs to be developing his or her or his leadership skills, investing in themselves, and then figuring out how do I then in turn use what I am learning to invest in others so that I can take team members to another level. Here's some realities of leaders, and leaders in this room understand what I'm talking about. Leaders have a natural advantage over followers. Because you see, leaders see more than others see. They see before others see. They see further than others see. Now, this isn't necessarily because leaders are so smart, but it's because leaders are in leadership positions. And because they're in leadership positions, they are in places and in positions where they can see, if you will, the big picture much more quickly, much more largely, and much more further down the road. Now you ask the question, what does that have to do in relating to leaders being genuinely interested in others? Here's the challenge to every leader in the room. Because good leaders see before, see more, and see further, here's what leaders have to do. Leaders have to slow down and stop and spend time with followers explaining what in the world's going on. And every follower here said, amen. Sure. That's the way it is. Leaders sometimes, because they do see further, they know more, they don't understand the importance of the followers. Spending time with them and explaining the big picture. You've heard this story probably before about the boy who was trying to watch a parade in his hometown on Main Street on 4th of July. And all the excitement was going on, he was trying to watch it behind a 6-foot-high fence that was over him, and was watching it through the knothole of the fence. So as a consequence, he could only see the parade one event at a time. And so when the marching band came by, it was exciting. When the lions and the tigers from the cages that came by, that was scary. And when the clowns came by, that was funny. A man saw what was going on and realized that the boy was only seeing a limited vision of the parade. So he graciously picked him up, he put him on his shoulder, and for the first time on the man's shoulder, the boy could see the panorama of the parade. He could see what the parade was all about. He could see the big picture. That's what leaders do. Leaders pick up their team members. They communicate. There's a constant flow of communication. And they allow the followers to see the big picture of where we want to take the company, where we want to take the office, where we want to take the division, where we want to take the team. Am I investing in myself? And am I truly concerned about others? Third question. Am I doing what I love and loving what I do? Am I doing what I love and loving what I do? That's a motive question. Have you ever asked the question, why do you want to be a leader? 10 years ago, I was speaking on behalf of Equip at the National Religious Broadcasters in Nashville, Tennessee, and I was doing a leadership workshop. There were about 200 people in the room, something like this tonight. And I did my leadership lesson. There was a young man, looked at me in his mid-20s, and he asked a question, and he said, what are the perks of leadership? What are the advantages of leadership? And I just stopped and I asked him, I said, have you ever asked yourself, why do you want to be a leader? Why do you want to be a leader? Is it for the perks? Is it for the profits? Is it for the advantages? Those are certainly nice, but at the core, if that's why you want to be a leader, that will eventually run out of steam. Why do you want to be a leader? Now, I tell you about that young man because the story started, it's similar to the Travis story I had. He came up to me after it was over, and he just was frustrated because he wanted to know more about leadership, but he just didn't know how. And so I began, as I have with Travis for about 10 years, phone call relationship with him. He lived in Texas. He had a couple of jobs, and finally he got admitted, as he grew in his leadership, to be qualified to be trained as an owner-operator for a Chick-fil-A franchise. I'm meeting him the first week of October. He's flying into Atlanta. About 2 years ago, he was rewarded with his own franchise. He's an owner-operator, teaching leadership. And today, if you ask him, why do you want to be a leader? He doesn't say, I don't know. He basically says, I want to be a leader because I want to make other people's lives better. Why do you want to be a leader? Why do you want to be successful? Why do you want to have influence? This really gets back to the motive question. Do you love what you're doing what you love and love what you are doing? I hope you are in this business in real estate, as we say in general terms here tonight, because you love it, you have a passion for it. I hope that's the case. My son Andy and my son-in-law Robert have a very successful rock and roll band called Manchester Orchestra. You may not know that band, but your kids and other kids will know that band. Andy is 30 years old. He is a songwriter, and they're doing very well. They're not an arena band, they're not an epic band, but they're a band now that they headline in rooms, 2,000 people, and they sell at all the concerts. Doing really well. They're my retirement package. But you can look them up, Manchester Orchestra. Andy's songwriting has taken him, his songs have been used on Grey's Anatomy, One Tree Hill, Gossip Girl. What's the one about How I Met Your Mother? That was one of the songs that went on there. They just scored a motion picture last year with Daniel Radcliffe and Paul Dano. They just did a song that was released with Amazon's national launch to compete in a shipping war with some of the others that are out there, and it debuted at prime time during the NBA playoffs in June. They did very, very well. And Andy started writing songs when he was about 14, 15 years of age. And as he was in a leadership culture in our home, and since he was a little guy, he would have dinner with me and lunch with me with leaders. And he learned a lot of leadership, and he's got a lot of intuitive leadership. And now he runs really a multi-million-dollar company. Actually, has 5 companies, my 30-year-old son. That's just amazing to me. And then my son-in-law, who is 28, married to my amazing daughter, the most amazing daughter in the history of the world. Also a really great business guy. And it is show business. They do a great job. They work hard, and they've been working for a decade. And they just love the music. But here's the thing. If you talk to them, you ask them, why do you do this? Yes, the income is great. Yes, the adulation is wonderful. But the reason they do it is they're passionate about the music. And they get to perform. They get paid. It's great. They're doing what they love, and they love what they do. Please don't go through life missing that. And I'm not trying to demotivate Travis, anyone here, but if you don't like people and you don't like real estate, you probably shouldn't do real estate. They pay me thousands of dollars for this. They're a brilliant tactician. Kevin, that's leadership. I just summed it up right there. But how many people go to work and they're so unhappy? How many know someone like that, right? How many sitting next to that person right now? So here's what I want to encourage you to do. Think about this. If you don't have passion for what you do, you will quickly run out of energy. You will quickly run out of ideas. Find your passion and follow it. Passion does a lot of things, but I think passion gives you an advantage. Now, do you hear me, real estate agents? You're looking for the advantage. You're looking for the edge. Passion gives you an advantage. When you love what you're doing, when you think about what you're doing is not getting to the closing to get the check, but what you are doing is you are trying to help people. You are trying to add value to their lives. When you get passionate about that, it changes everything. Allow me just to read to you for a moment and fall asleep if you can. Thank you. These are honest questions, and I appreciate honesty. I cut this out to share with you. Most of us think that Christopher Columbus was a great discoverer, but he was also a master salesperson. Before he could ever begin his voyage of discovery that changed the world, he had to sell. He had to sell to his contemporaries, and what he had to sell to them was an utterly ridiculous idea. And it was not a one-call sale. Consider the circumstances and conditions that were stacked against him. First, there was absolutely no market for a transatlantic voyage. And hundreds of years of tradition and superstitions practically guaranteed that there never would be. Second, although Columbus had made sea voyages as a passenger, he had never been the captain of a ship. Third, Columbus was a foreigner, an Italian, living first in Portugal and then in Spain. Fourth, Columbus did not have sufficient money to fund such an adventure. In fact, the only one who could legally fund a voyage of discovery was a head of state, a king or queen. So his prospect list was rather short. Fifth, his price was not cheap. In addition to needing ships and support, Columbus had a long list of personal demands, including A, a 10% commission on all commerce between his discoveries and the mother country, B, the title of Admiral of the Ocean Sea, C, the permanent position of governor of all new territories, and D, all the honors and rights were to be passed to his heirs. Remarkably, Columbus made the sale on his own terms. Modern salespeople could learn a lot from Columbus' sales techniques. Columbus was propelled by a single-minded passion. He wholeheartedly believed he could reach Asia by crossing the Atlantic. And even though his belief was wrong, it gave him the inner stamina, conviction, and confidence to make the sale. Columbus never stopped closing. He didn't mind asking for the order over and over and over and over. He spent 7 years asking King John of Portugal to fund the voyage. Then he went to Spain and worked on Ferdinand and Isabella for 7 more years before he finally got his yes. Passion gives you an advantage. And I think what happens as you grow yourself, as question number 1 challenges us, you begin to get a clearer idea of what you are passionate about and how you are wired, how you can accomplish things. Then you begin to share with team members what it is that you can do together. Then you move forward. Passionate, loving what you do, doing what you love, and loving what you do. Let's move on, number 4. Here's a scalpel, if you will, a surgical instrument to examine your own life is, am I investing time with the right people? Am I investing time with the right people? And this is a relationship question. Now, who are the right people? Let me give you a little bit of a profile. The right people for me, and I think for you, would be people where there is mutual attraction, right? You don't want to be around someone that just like, and I'm not talking about physical attraction. I'm just talking about there's some magnetic aspect of them. That's who I want to hang around, and that's why our friendship's over. You want to be around people with mutual attraction. Why do you want to go spend time with people and try to work with people and build a team of people who have terrible attitudes? Try to be with people where there is this attractiveness. You want to be around people that have passion for growth. And you want to be around people with the potential to go forward, that are on the way up. A couple weeks ago, a young man named Buster Stone, who went to high school with my son, and as my son excelled in his 20s in what he was doing, Buster Stone still hasn't found his way in his late 20s now, early 30s. But things are changing. And he came and he said, Dr. Will, I'd like to take you to lunch, which I thought was remarkable. How's he going to pay for this? I give Buster a hard time, but there's some great things happening in his life. I want you to listen. He said, in my 20s, I've been spending time with people. Listen to this. In my 20s, I was spending time with people who were going down. I'm 30 now, and I've got to figure out how to spend time with people who are going up. We've all seen this, haven't we? In the workplace, we'll see someone really try to excel, but there may be a marriage partner at home who's pulling them down. A parent that's pulling them down. A bad attitude that's pulling them down. I want to encourage you to think through who you're spending time with. Again, I'm a stranger, and I'll get on a plane tomorrow, and you may never see me again. But strategically in your life, not being mean or cruel or arrogant to anybody, strategically try to spend time in your life with people who are on their way up. People of character. People who have competence and capacity. And people who have chemistry. They know how to get along well with people. Now, does this mean that I don't spend time investing with people who are struggling and poor and hurting and wounded and dysfunctional? No, not at all. There is a humanitarian, and if you are a person of faith, there is a faith command to spend time and to love well and to demonstrate compassion to those people and do it in meaning. But please understand that that is a different kind of investment. You're trying now here to build a career. You're trying to build a business. You're trying to
gain profit. You're trying to make other people's lives better in a business environment, and you just can't do that if you're in this environment of work and then you're allowing that environment outside of work in other relationships going back to high school or college or wherever to pull you down. It's a leadership question. And I'm spending time with the right people. Last question. Am I taking care of today? Am I taking care of today? And this is a management question. You know what? The best leaders make good decisions today, and then they manage those decisions well tomorrow, and the next day, and the next day. In my mid-30s, I met a very successful real estate business guy in the city of Toronto. Made millions of dollars. I met him by the time he was about 70 years old. And he's failing now. He's in assisted living, and I don't know how much longer he has. But he was enormously successful in your industry. And I began to talk to him, and I was curious, and I always love to try to interview people and find out what makes them tick, what made them successful. I try to get a nugget out of that, and I find it just very exciting. And I got to know this man, and I said, what can you teach me? He said, I learned a long time ago to try to make 3 good decisions a day. Think of that. 3 good decisions a day. And he said, John, now that doesn't sound very impressive, but if you make 3 good decisions a day for a year, that's 1,000 good decisions. And then if you make 3 good decisions a day for a year over a 10-year period, that's 10,000 good decisions. Now, you are in an area of work where you deal with property and banking and interest, now compound interest. There is compounding power in making what this man said, 30, 40 years of 3 good decisions a day. Am I taking care of today? Today. Because it's today that really does matter. How do you live out your day? What is your daily agenda? What do you prioritize every day? What are your behaviors every day? What are your interactions with people like every day? Am I taking care of today? Years ago, there was a man named Del Witherington, and he wrote this. It's called The Life Builder's Creed. Listen to this. He says, today is the most important day of my life. Yesterday, with all its successes and victories, struggles and failures, that's gone forever. The past is past, done, finished. I cannot relive it. I cannot go back and change it. But I will learn from it and improve my today. Today, this moment, now. It is God's gift to me and all that I have. Tomorrow, with all of its joys and triumphs and troubles, isn't here yet. Indeed, tomorrow may never come. Therefore, I will not worry about tomorrow. Today is what God has entrusted to me. That's good stuff. A CEO of a publishing company said, it's not what you've done, it's what you're doing. She went on to say that she starts the day with the question, what will I do for the company today? And ends the day with the question, what did I do for the company today? Last question. And everyone's so excited. You've been very gracious, and I thank you. Question number 6, am I embracing the best values? And this is a faith or a values question. Am I embracing the best values? If you are a person of faith like me, this isn't the last question on a sheet of paper, it's the first question. Am I embracing the best values? What are my values? Are my values reflected in how I spend my money? Are my values reflected in how I treat my family? My levels of sacrifice, my compassion to the poor, my kindness? Have you, as a leader in this industry, have you compassed out, measured out your values? When I talk about values, I'm talking about things like truth and honesty and faithfulness, integrity, compassion, values. How do you embrace your values? How do you embrace your values in the business that you're in every day, today? First of all, let your values be your North Star. Let your values be like a compass or direction point that can get you from here to over there. As you are in the business you're in, you're going to have people that will lie to you, take advantage of you, cheat on you, and you will be tempted to do the same. And when you get in that kind of culture, that kind of environment, you need your values close to you, and you need that North Star out there to say, no, that's not my values, that's my values there. And you keep moving toward that North Star. And you don't take your eye off of those values, because you're a woman of integrity, and you're a woman of truth, and you're a man of integrity, and you're a man of truth. And no matter what business ethics may go haywire here or there that you have no control of, you can control your value system. How do you embrace your values? You let your values be your North Star. You can also embrace your values by allowing your values to be your anchor. To be your anchor. Here's what happens in our culture, you just see these changing tides, and we see it with these incredible hurricanes and storms, and we see what happens. And in the rough tides and when the rough waters come, if you know that buoy that's out there in the distance in the water, it is driven down and it's anchored down into the bed of the ocean, that no matter what the winds are, no matter what the shifting of things are, there's still some flotation, if you will, there's some give here, but it doesn't go far because it's anchored into something that is true. It's anchored. Your values, let it be your anchor. Here's why that's important. Because in business environments, you know what happens, right? Economies go up, they go down. Interest rates go up, they go down. Real estate markets, they go up, they go down. The stock market goes up, they go down. It's all volatile. And then there's life. While you're trying to sell real estate, you've got a child who is struggling with addiction. Or you have a spouse that is struggling with unemployment. Or you have, like me, a mother right now at 88 who has Alzheimer's and has called me 4 times since I've been speaking here with you. Has no track of time. In my life, that's it. And I have no idea in leadership, nor do you, what will happen. You have no idea if you have a partner that will go through a marital disruption. You don't know what's going to happen. We don't know, and it never ends. That's why you need values to be your North Star and values to be your anchor, to keep you bedrocked in stormy times in business and in life. Last thing is this. Let your values be your best friend. Because in leadership, and that's what we want to try to develop, that's what your vision is, and I think Travis and the sponsors, your vision is to develop leadership cultures within your agencies. And just everybody become better leaders. And what happens when you are making decisions, and sometimes it's hiring and firing, and sometimes it's having to say no to something where there's tremendous pressure because your values or your ethics don't allow it. Can I tell you something? That can be a very lonely place. And you need a friend. Let values, your values, be your best friend. Because it is lonely at times in leadership. Some of you that are owners, it's lonely. Managers, it can be lonely, and you have to make the hard call. And maybe no one else supports you in the decision, but you did not contradict your values. You stay true. But it can be lonely. So would you let your values be your best friend? So go back and look at these questions, would you please? Am I investing in myself as a leader? And am I genuinely interested in other people? Am I doing what I love and loving what I do? Am I investing my time with the right people? Am I taking care of today? Am I embracing the best values? Use these questions, if you will, like Dr. King used the scalpel to perform surgery on yourself and your leadership. You are a delightful group of people, and I thank you for your kindness and for your attention. Thank you for listening. God bless you all.
Thank you very much. Wow. Well, I hope all of you took some great notes. I had my moleskin out here and I was going to town, and I just had a few questions that I wrote myself that I'm going to share with you. And you can write these down, or you can just look at me and smile and go, "Good job, Travis." Either way, these are questions, all right? So here's some questions for you real estate professionals. That's who we got in the room. I got questions for you. Number one, did you have a goal for 2017? All right? I hope the answer was yes. Most of you that's a revenue goal or a unit goal, right? Or maybe it's a net profit goal. But the follow-up to that question is, are you going to hit your goal? Right? Now, there's two options there. It's either, yeah, you're feeling pretty good, or it's, no, I'm not, Travis. Well, here's the thing. A lot of people, if you go, yes, I'm doing good, you go, yeah, I crushed it. I'm hitting it. Or I'm right on track. Look at me go. I'm rocking. I know what I'm doing. I feel good. I'm in a groove. Got it going on, right? Do you? Do you know why you're successful? Because sometimes we have success despite ourselves. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to inspect both things. If you missed the gap, why'd you miss it? The follow-up question is, if you hit it, why'd you hit it? Because if you don't understand the reason for your success, you won't duplicate it next year. I hear some people talk sometimes and they go, well, that business unit's going really good. I'm just going to let it go. I don't need to look at that business. I need to focus on this one that's broken. My question is, if that business is doing really good right now, stops functioning tomorrow as good, will you know what can go over there and tweak it, fix it? I don't know. It's going good. Why are you asking me that question? I'm going, because if you don't understand why it's working good, when it's broke, you won't know how to fix it. Right? So if you had a great year this year, what's the real reason for your success? Let's be honest. Maybe you got a few deals you just walked into. Maybe you got a new builder. Maybe you, whatever. I don't know what it is, but what happens if that doesn't happen? And are you fitting yourself up great for an FY18, okay? Follow-up question number 5 is, what is your plan for FY18? Folks, it's almost October 1st, which means it's almost Q4. We all know this business has a cycle, right? It's got a lag time. If it's got a lag time, you better be right now thinking about FY18. You don't wait till December 31st to set goals for next year, I hope. I hope all of you will spend the next few weeks thinking about your goals to start in January, what you have to do in January. And if you're doing that, I hope you're beginning that journey right now. So you need to plan now for FY18. Number 6, How are you doing with your customers? Let's be honest, how are you doing with your customers? Do they understand the motive? Your motive. Do they look at you as just some flashy, good-looking person, talks good, makes a lot of money? Or do they look at you as a true professional that's there to serve them, get them the most out of their property, get them the best deal when they buy? Do they know that you care more about them than anything else, and that you're there for a long-term partnership? If they don't, we can fix that, right? But let's be honest with about what our customers think of us. Number 7, are you leading yourself well? I know Dr. Hull talked a lot about leadership, and some of you go, well, Travis, I'm not a leader. I go, yeah, you are. You lead yourself, don't you? If you can't answer yes to that, then you should be able to. And that's something you need to fix real quick, all right? So, are you leading yourself well? Final question, do your actions line up with your values? Folks, we're in a great market right now. There's a lot of things happening, a lot of business going on. You know, we're seeing consistent double-digit growth year over year over year in this industry, and it's fun. Do not compromise your values. I go to bed every night and sleep with a good conscience because I know I don't do that. I'm not perfect, and when I make mistakes, I make sure I address them, and I do it honestly and sincerely and quickly. Here's the thing. If you've done something recently or in the last year where your actions didn't line up with your values, own it. Because everybody else already knows. Okay? They know. Just say, hey, listen, I didn't make it right there. I made a mistake, and I want to just let you know that. I'm sorry. Promise you, you may not win that friend back over, but you'll feel better. And they won't speak ill of you anymore. And you'll go forward with a much better person, a much better perspective person. All right? Let's give Dr. Hull one more round of applause. I want to thank him for coming here. I want to thank USA Mortgage, Titan Title, HSA. I want to thank all of you for taking time tonight and investing in yourself. I'll see you next year at the MIRE Conference 2018.